Hiya, I'm Elliot from Free Life Financial, and today I'd like to discuss my top tips for saving for a deposit on your first home. If this is your first time watching, then please feel free to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below. Okay, let's get straight into it with my first tip for saving for a deposit, and that is to establish a budget. It has to be a realistic budget, so you need to look at your income, your expenses, and your spending habits and work out how much you can realistically save every month. To do this, you'll need to identify areas where you might be able to cut back on your spending to increase your saving, but also be realistic and work out the areas that you are not prepared to cut back on, or areas where you're not going to be able to cut back on your spending at all. Creating a monthly budget will give you a clear picture of how much you could realistically set aside for your deposit every month. Tip number 2, after you've got a monthly budget, you need to set a savings goal. This is where you can get a clear picture of how much you're going to need to have for a deposit on your property. The best way to get an idea of that is to look at properties that you would realistically be interested in and work out as a percentage what size deposit you would need for those properties. Having a specific goal can help because it helps you to feel motivated and track your progress along the way. Tip 3 is to reduce expenses. So I mentioned this briefly in tip number 1. Reducing your expenses, of course, leaves you with more money every month to put away for savings for a deposit on your home. But again, it's really important to be realistic here. You need to decide which areas you can realistically cut expenses and which areas you can't. The best way to do this is to look through your bank statements and look at what you're spending money on, or if you often spend cash on things, then, although it's a bit of a roundabout way of doing it, you can take note of everything you spend money on. If you're paying cash, you're not going to be able to see that on your bank statement, so you'll have to take note of that. And after a few months, you'll be able to work out where you are spending your money. If you are using your bank card, as most people do, then it's nice and easy because it's already there in your bank statements. You can look through your bank statements, work out what are you spending your money on, which areas are you spending the most money on, and which of those areas could you reduce it and by how much. There are always going to be some areas where you're not able to cut back your spending at all. There'll also be some areas where you just won't want to. Some areas where you do spend money that you don't have to, but you do it because it's important to you. And then there'll be some areas, hopefully, that you'll find where you're spending too much and you think you could realistically cut back. Examples might be subscriptions for things that you don't even use anymore, or dining out, getting takeaways, or going out on the sesh. Every pound saved does bring you closer to your deposit goal. So even if it's a very small subscription that's only £3, £5, £7 a month, if you can do that in a few different areas, then even those small changes will make a difference in the long run. Tip number 4 to supercharge your savings is to increase your income. Of course, it's easier said than done, but sometimes there are ways to increase your income. You can do this by picking up overtime or extra shifts in your current position if that's possible. You could even ask your employer for an increase in salary. You could pick up a side hustle or a second job. If you are going to go to your current employer and ask for a salary increase, you might just go to them and say that you think you deserve a raise. But a good way to do it is to offer to take on more responsibility, but explain that you would want a higher salary in return. If you are already living on your current income now and you find a way to increase your income, then you know that every extra pound you earn can be put towards your deposit goal. So an extra income can make a huge difference. And tip number 5 would be to research lifetime ISAs. A lifetime ISA is a tax-efficient savings account which is designed to help you save for either your first home or your retirement. With a lifetime ISA, you can contribute up to £4,000 a year, and the government will add 25% as a bonus. This means that for every £1,000 you save in a lifetime ISA, the government would top it up by £250. You can contribute £4,000 a year, which means you could get £1,000 per year government bonus. This could be a great way to accelerate your savings for your deposit, but keep in mind there are some restrictions with lifetime ISAs, including eligibility restrictions. Now, the money in your lifetime ISA can only be withdrawn without penalty for the purchase of your first home or later for retirement. So do research the restrictions that lifetime ISAs have and make sure you would definitely be wanting to use that money to purchase your own home, because if you wanted to get that money back out, you could end up losing money and getting out less than what you actually put in. Tip number 6 is to automate your savings. If you decide to just spend what you're going to spend and then try to save at the end of the month, you'll find that you'll probably spend whatever money you've got available and you'll have nothing left at the end of the month. So I advise to set aside your savings at the beginning of the month, then you can only spend what you've got left and you know that your savings are already taken care of. Then brilliant if you can leave a little bit extra at the end of the month to also put toward your savings, then brilliant. But if you do spend everything, you don't have to feel guilty about it because you've already saved at the beginning of the month. And finally, my final tip would be to stay patient and stay focused on your goal. It might take a long time to save for a deposit on a property, so set milestones along the way where you can kind of celebrate when you hit those key milestones and keep focused on the end goal. Just remember how happy you will be eventually when you do hit that goal, and you can have things to motivate you. For example, have a picture up on your wall of the house that you're hoping to buy, and that'll remind you of why it is that you're changing your lifestyle to get this extra money together so that eventually you will have the deposit on a home. And they are my main tips for saving for a deposit on your first home. Saving for a deposit can take a long time and it can seem challenging. Just as I say, remember to stay focused, stay patient, and don't beat yourself up if you struggle. If ever you have a month where you have to use some of your savings because something unexpected comes up, don't beat yourself up about that. Try not to do it, of course, but don't beat yourself up about it. And if it does happen, don't just give up and think it's not possible. It might happen 1 or 2 months, but if you are saving at least most months, you will get there eventually. So just stay motivated, stay focused, and one day you will be opening the door to your new home. And that wraps up the video. I hope you found some of these tips helpful. If you have any tips yourself that you'd like to share, then please comment in the comment section below. If you like this video, then please click the like button. Again, please also feel free to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button. And finally, of course, if you are getting to the point where you will be looking into purchasing your first property and you'd like some advice on your mortgage options, then please get in touch. Thank you.